Okay, we've made it. It's the first night of the trip.
Yep, we're all
Just
ready for bed.
starting out. There's Luke. There's Judy. We've got all of our Disney bags hanging up there with our groceries in. So they just rock around while we're driving, riding in the boat. Got all of our stuff done to the boat. The bottom paint, the new swim platform. Serviced the engine, all kinds of other good stuff. It cost almost $4,000. Not to mention the cost of the trip itself and the gas. Gas is up to $3.70 a gallon on the river now. But the weather looks good. They're claiming no lightning storms until Tuesday, which will be in St. Augustine if it happens, according to the weather, if they know what they're talking about. So what do you think, Judy?
The whole trip's ahead of us. Be a good time.
Hey, Luke.
What do you think, Luke? What do you think about being in
Luke,
the boat for the trip?
You're being recorded here. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes, what? Yes, what?
Do you look forward to being in the boat? On the boat trip? You think it's going to be fun?
Look over at the camera and smile. So you made it, Luke.
Yep.
What time is it? It's 4 o'clock. Geez, even later than last year.
Yep.
You got your new expensive hat on.
Yep.
Cramming stuff in there.
Yep.
Get everything in there?
Pretty much.
So what do you think?
I'm gonna have a beer.
So what, we got 77 miles to go tomorrow, which doesn't sound like far, but you know, between all the no wake zones and everything, you know, that slows us down a little bit, but should be a good trip, huh?
Yeah, that would be nice.
So what's your excitement level between 1 and 10?
We'll go with 10.
A 10?
Yeah.
Why? Only because I'm going to ask you what would make it a 10 if it wasn't?
Yeah.
So what is your greatest hope for the trip?
That we don't die.
Well, that's a lovely hope, yes. But aside from that, I mean, you know, in general terms, I mean, you know, like catching the biggest fish, St. Augustine, meeting up with Natalie. What?
Oh, meeting up in the alley is gonna be fun. Going to the beach, hanging out at St. Augustine, catching the biggest fish. We'll see.
Yeah, there's supposed to be some redfish biting up there now, big ones. They're saying they're biting on the bottom with mullets, cut mullet. So we'll see. I have the net out there right now on the bottom. I haven't pulled it in about 4 or 5 hours.
Did you pull it in the first time you catch anything?
I didn't catch anything at any time, period. But we should go out and try and pull it in. I had 2 good bites. One bent a steel snap swivel, and the other one, I think it wrapped around a boat over here on the right. I hope not, but you know, I was pulling it and I was afraid I was pulling the guy's boat while he was sleeping there and he was going to wake up, so I cut the line. Which isn't a good thing, but if the fish was still on there, he'll just pull the line out anyway. So we got 10 days, 10 full days, huh?
Yeah.
So it looks almost like a Disney resort, doesn't it?
I like it.
So those 2 guys are asleep, resting up. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and we're going to be starting out bright and early at about noon.
Yep.
Should be a good trip, huh?
Yeah, a little fun.
This guy has nothing really to do with the trip at all. He was at a gas station that we stopped at for gas on the way up to the boat to begin with. And I just found it very interesting that he had a squirrel chained to his shoulder. And Judy's all ready to go, having her coffee, and little Luke is waiting in the chair patiently with his life jacket on. And this is the slip we just pulled out of, our slip at Hontoon Landing. And we had to stop first to pump out the Blackwater tank and to fill up with gas. And then we were on our way up the river, our 70-mile trip to Palatka. This would be the start of day 2, leaving the boathouse marina. The weather reports were good. Pretty much clear skies, a little bit breezy, but the weather report was good. So we left. We had a 77-mile ride. It was breezy when we started out. We still had to stop for gas. We stopped at the Crystal Cove Marina, which is probably about 5 miles away from where we stayed for the night. As our trip progressed during the day, it got increasingly windier, and near the end of the day we decided to cut the trip short. We had a reservation for Mayport, right up near the Intercoastal, and we decided not to go that far because the water had become choppy enough that it concerned us. That added an extra 20 miles to our ride tomorrow, the next day. And we needed to get to a bridge there where the currents were supposed to be particularly bad by a certain time at low tide. but we figured it wasn't worth the risk of trying to make it to Mayport because the water up there is right at the mouth of the St. John's going out to the ocean, and at best the water is ripping there under good conditions. So we stopped for the night sooner at a place called Arlington Marina, which turned out okay. So
So what do you got there, Luke?
What do you got, Luke? What's in here?
Crabs.
Out they come. Watch out, little Luke. Come on out.
Come on out, crabbies, right?
He's pretty big.
Sorry.
Hey, give you a nasty crab. He's trying to too.
He's trying to snap him, right?
Man, he's sharp.
He's.
the other one.
He has sharp claws, right? What's that crab doing there?
They're very good to eat. You want to take a bite?
No.
Huh?
What's he doing?
If you grabbed him, he'd give you a nasty pinch.
Nasty pinch?
Yes, they can pinch you. They see those big claws right there?
I see.
See that? He's trying. See it?
He's trying.
Trying his best.
He's trying his best. See that crab?
I see him. I got one right here.
You got one right there? You snapped them all the way over there? You snapped them all the way over there?
Yes.
But what are you doing?
Poking at him.
What is he doing?
We're going to throw him back in the water.
We're gonna throw that one back in the water too, right? We're gonna get these crabs back in the water, right? Right?
Correct.
We're trying to move them, right? So I could go back in the water, right? Come on, Travis, don't back in the water. He's not moving, right?
Right.
Something's wrong with him, right?
All right.
Day 3 began waiting for gas at the marina, at the Arlington Marina. In front of us was the fire rescue boat waiting for gas also. And while they were in line waiting for gas, they got a call. A sailboat had hit the bridge about a mile downriver, and the boat sunk, and I guess they had to rescue the people. The wind wasn't too bad. The water was choppy, but the weather report was consistent that it wasn't supposed to be bad. I called St. Augustine Municipal Marina and asked them what the weather was like there, and they said there was no problem. Come on ahead and come down, and we had about a 60-mile ride to get down there. The ride up the river at that point is really kind of nice. It's different. It's very busy there. A lot of cruise ships and barges, and the river's wide. Got to watch out for some of the wakes from the bigger ships. But it's really an interesting ride. And then down the Intercoastal Waterway, which is very interesting with all the expensive houses and all the different boats and stuff. What we didn't expect, though, was the water, the winds and the water that we ran into when we got down to about 10 miles from St. Augustine, and it was the roughest water that I've seen on this boat. I have no experience to tell you how high the seas were there, because I have no idea what they were, but they were a lot worse than what the video looks. They were really kind of bad. We all had our life jackets on, and we were really pretty concerned about it. It was a rough ride, and it was the worst part of the trip, really. But anyway.
Dreaded Atlantic Bridge. This is the reason we got up early today. The currents are supposed to be very bad under here, and the winds are pretty bad too. But we're here. We should be here at slack tide. Well, let's see what happens. Could have slept later. There's nothing to it.
I had been worried about this spot for a month before we went on the trip. As it turns out, it was nothing. But when you read about it online, that particular current underneath that bridge does rip a lot of boats up. It runs them into the pilings and causes a lot of issues. We had no issues with it whatsoever, and last year when we went through it, we had no issues then either. So I've come to the conclusion that most of these people that are going through there that are having problems are in sailboats and don't have the power to pull through there, and that current is actually shoving them right into the bridge itself. So anyway, next time I go through there, I will know that it's not as bad as they say it is. Now the next couple clips are of something that was really unexpected. We expected pretty much nice cruising all the way down to St. Augustine, but about 10 miles away the water started getting pretty rough. The weather reports were also saying that the weather was kicking up, and I called the St. Augustine Municipal Marina, and they said, stay where you are, don't come here, it's terrible. But by this time we were at the point of no return. There was nowhere for us to go. We were in a pretty wide part of the intercoastal waterway, and there was no place for us to go. We certainly couldn't anchor, and there were no docks to go to, and there were no marinas in between where we were and where we were going. So we plunged through. Luke was piloting the boat at the time, and he decided to continue to do so, but it was a very unexpected thing, and the waves in these videos don't do how big those waves were justice at all. Those waves were much bigger than they appear to be in this video. So you having fun, Luke?
Yeah.
It's a bit choppy, huh?
I don't think it's that bad.
Yeah, the 6-foot seas at St. Augustine will make up for that. What are you doing down there?
Playing with dinosaurs.
And what kind of dinosaur is that? An ankylosaurus, yes. Bay here, it calmed down a lot. I don't know why, but they were close to big waves out there. 6 foot I don't know about, but they were pretty big.
This guy think he's going in ahead of me?
I don't know.
up, okay?
Oh, last night on the boat, trip's over. Had pizza delivered before Brady's was closed when we got here. What did we think of the trip?
It had some bumps that I would work out, but in general it was a good trip.
Well, the ride down to St Augustine was a little rough, huh?
Yeah.
The weather started getting rough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it did.
The tiny ship was tossed.
But was not for the courage of the fearless crew.
The too lazy two might have been lost. What'd you think, Luke? Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Are you sorry it's over?
It's not over.
Not till tomorrow, no, but we're getting pretty close.
Not over.
It's almost over.
Yep. Almost. But not yet.
Mm-mm.
Yep, when we go back home, little Luke.
Mm-mm.
You go home.
All the toys that didn't get to go on the ride.